Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I am Templar, and today we're going to be talking about, well, not just one, but two new helmets. One being of the late Roman Eastern Empire, and one being of the late Roman Western Empire. Now, I have three helmets here, because of the fact I actually am, well, taking it from the original source. In fact, this one is a Roman Galatian helmet, or as they call it, the Imperial Gallic helm. That was used by the Roman military, and as well, these helmets were technically used by the Roman military until they were later on replaced by this model, of which was used by auxiliaries, and of which this model then was replaced in different forms. However, this elevated from this form into these two. How so? Well, it originally was this type of form, mainly because of the fact in history. Now, the reason they decided to actually switch from this Imperial Gallic helm is kind of for a big obvious reason, especially during the 3rd century crisis. Especially if you could see at that time, this is by the time the very late Roman Empire was starting to be formed, and if we technically see at the fall of the Imperial period, or the very late Roman Imperial period, especially after a major defeat by the Samnites, or the Neo-Persians as some people call them, it's actually stated that this helmet later on evolved from this model to this model. Now, this model here is of the Eastern model. Now, the reason why these are called the Eastern Roman helmets is kind of obvious, because these were mostly seen in the Eastern Roman Empire from the very end of the 3rd century crisis area, or the very early periods of the 4th century, until the fall of the Byzantine Empire. So, yeah, this technically was still being used by the very, very late Roman Empire. However, this model later on got replaced in the West by this model. Now, how so? Well, this type of model of helmet was still being used even by the time of Constantine, and pretty much because of the fact these helmets were incredibly, well, easy to wear. Now, here's the thing though. The problem about these helmets, they were extremely small. In fact, I'm not wearing an army cap underneath this. This is extremely just tucked onto my helmet. Literally, my head is tucked right into the helmet. I have ear holes that keep me from hearing commands, so I can still hear them correctly. I also have still at the back flap, as you can see. However, unlike this one, the back flap actually moves, meaning I can easily move my neck up and down. Problem is, whenever you do this, here's the thing, if you're going to get this thing caught on your male hauberk or something, sometimes this is another reason why they actually still kept using the late Roman scarf, of which I'm telling you all know what that is. It would technically be this, especially, for example, take this off first. As you all know, the Roman legionnaires, they would always wear a type of elongated scarf. Now it's longer than this though, and in doing so, this would actually also keep the mail from going into the neck, but also this would keep the back flap from getting caught in the mail. As you all can see, the neck flap just hovers on this piece, meaning it will technically not get stuck. So in doing so, this does help out the helmet. However, this type of helmet was, as I stated before, still being used by the time of Constantine the Great. However, these helmets would later on have to be replaced by this model in the West. Why? Well, that's kind of obvious because of the weaponry they went up against. For example, this helmet was perfect going up against Neo-Persians, Arabs, and such, mainly because the weapons in the Far East were technically not as dangerous as the ones in the West. Now, why would I say that? It's kind of obvious, really. In fact, you can actually see because this helmet was still being used in the East, and this one was still being used in the West. However, some historians even dispute why they actually had them like this, but a lot of them actually even state that this is where you could see the difference between the Western Empire and the Eastern Empire's armies, mainly because of the helmet. So, yeah. Now, this Western version, I had to put a arming cap or a cotton pad in the middle here. Now, so that way I could actually have it. Now, it does have these, it's technically a Spangenhelm. Yes, a Spangenhelm. If y'all don't know what that means, it's technically a German design model. Now, if y'all don't know why this is actually German, here's the thing. The Romans copied from Germanic tribes when they made this. However, we don't really know which Germanic tribe it might have been. Some historians do dispute it might have been this tribe, it might have been that tribe. However, it's still left undebated for this day. Now, though, this one is a lot different from the Eastern version, mainly because of the fact this one has a nose guard, as you see. Now, these helmets, in historical form, I like the Western versions a little bit more than the Eastern, mainly because my head is like tucked in this air pilot type of thing. Now, this version is technically, some historians state it's a cavalry one, some historians state it's an infantry one. I don't know which one it is, so keep me out of it. Now, these ones, they also have the back neck guard that does flap. And as well, though, when I got this, it did not come with the inner pieces to where you strap on your chin strap, because I don't know why. I think this might have been a default model. Still, though, I had to drill holes into the side, but technically they're unnoticeable. Now, this design is really cool because, as you can see, my head is technically floating on air, so to speak. However, the historians actually dispute on how they might have actually made this so great in armor. Well, the historical design of it might actually be because of the fact, while wearing this helmet, they kind of state that they might have actually over padded it all the way up here, meaning it was a shock absorber because of a weapon, especially a sword or a mace, would come down and hit the head, or even an axe. Now, in the West, they loved this helmet because these were perfect for fighting against Germanic tribes, mainly because these helmets were used by Germanic tribes. Now, this is a really cool type of helmet, as I do like it. Now, here's the thing. These Spangenhelms were later on copied and remodeled. What do I mean by that? Well, here's the thing. Take a look at the Sutton Hoo helm. Looks a little familiar, doesn't it? That's what I thought. Now, that's a really cool thing. Now, these helmets were also copied by the Saxons, the Celts, or the Celto-Romo-Britannic, whatever you want to call them, or even the Picts. And as well, were even still being used by the West until the later model of design helmets that came around. Now, these helmets were incredibly gifted to the design model, due to the fact these helmets could actually have been used by the Roman military up until their fall. And as well, if you think about it, many tribes that actually later on occupied most of Western Rome, like the Franks, the Visigoths, Ostrogoths, the Vandals and such, might have actually copied out of this. Now, as we can tell though, this Sutton Hoo helm later on evolved into this helmet, of which you could see this one still has a near resemblance to this model. You see the nose guard, you see the cheek flaps, you even see an aventail design, which this is a Sutton Saxon helm that was technically being used by the Saxons by the fall of the Anglo-Saxon England and by the time of the, newly conquest of the Normans. So, yeah, we could see why that is so cool. Now, that is actually kind of impressive because this type of model of helmet was still being used by the very end. Now, the last time some historians actually dispute whether or not this might have been made. However, the Celts invented their model, which there are many designs off of it, but however, it's a smaller version. In fact, this smaller version technically looks near identical to this, but with a nose guard. So, yeah, in other words, they downgraded it from its protective uses. However, this helmet design is so heavy duty that you technically don't need to worry about technically wearing, I want to say, mail underneath or something, because in truth, these helmets were perfect for the Roman soldier. Now, as you can see, this one does not have any, ear holes, or what you might say, or listening holes, as some people call them out here. That's actually because this one model, as I stated before, this is a disputed design, and some historians actually dispute whether or not this is a cavalier's helmet or an infantry helmet. As I stated before, I don't really care. Now, these ones are extremely cool. Now, this one model is extremely awesome. However, this model actually has something else to it. Now, this one has incredible design work on it, especially because it looks like it has eyeballs. That is really cool. Also, to the fact it has these crosses on top. Now, what does this symbolize? Well, some historians dispute, especially in 1993, I believe it was. That's one archaeologist has discovered a helmet which looked as though it had paint design on this type of eye socket where the helmets are. So, what does that mean? Well, this actually can explain something. It might have actually been a painted eye hole. Now, why does that sound a little weird? Here's the thing. The Romans did this so that way they could probably terrify their opponent. In fact, who wants to face off against a warrior that has 4 eyeballs? Really? You want to face off against a guy like that? I wouldn't. Now, that's also another thing. In fact, these helmets also have a different type of design of piece on it, which looks like this. Yeah. That is no projection piece. That is no faking of the helmet. That is actually what the real helmet looks like. This is a Roman centurion or a late Roman centurion helmet. These helmets were technically used by the Roman centurions of the late period, and of which they actually turned from this model to this model. So why? There are many historians that don't realize why, but some historians do dispute maybe because of the fact they couldn't put it this way, mainly because of the fact, well, the crest piece here, which that brings me to my next discussion. The reason this crest piece is here is not just to hold the helmet together, but also to reinforce it from a downward chop. However, it works best on this Spangenhelm design. Why? Here's the thing. If you were to actually hit this, what could happen is it could actually deflect to the side, or better yet, especially if you're fighting against Germanic tribes, what could happen is the sword, say my hand is the sword, what happens is it comes down and it actually hits the bar. Now, why does this sound incredibly cool? Here's the thing. Mostly Germanic weaponry was mostly made out of bog iron. Now, if y'all don't know what bog iron is incredibly hard to manufacture, but incredibly great weaponry. However, it's nicknamed Steely Iron for a reason, mainly because of the fact it bends, and you have to bend it back into place. In other words, it wasn't the greatest metal. In fact, this is kind of why most Germanic tribes would have used a type of weapon known as the sax. Now, the sax would be one of the most famous weapons in that department, and as well, that type of weapon would later on turn into the long sax and then the double-bladed sax when they improved their steelcraft. So, yeah. However, that's the thing. This actually made an improvement on the western frontiers of the Roman military in order to actually stop the weapon and break the weapon of their opponent. And in doing so, it actually fixed the weapon on the field of battle. But yeah, guys, hopefully you liked this video. Let me know in the comments below if you want me to talk any more about these. As well, don't worry, stay tuned. I will be talking a little bit of armor-up videos of the late Roman legions, including Imperial Rome, very soon. As soon as I can. Anyways, guys, hope you liked this video. Like and subscribe. Also, click the bell button for notifications. Also, check out our Facebook for our next upcoming videos. And hopefully y'all can actually see our next videos very soon. Anyways, guys, this has been Templar. Have a great day.